Hey guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Banter Blitz, me playing against you guys, and I'm intending to crush everybody as usual. I've had a mixed week of Banter Blitz. I did win, may I say, very convincingly, the Grandmaster Banter Brawl on Friday, so I was very pleased with that. But then I've had a big setback on Sunday on Peter Svidler's show, where I lost to Peter from a winning position, and I've had sleepless nights ever since. But I'll try to do better today. And let's just get this show rolling, see who's out there. Challenge me to a game of 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you fancy. Nah, not whatever you fancy. It's pretty much 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Let me know if anyone can hear me, see me, the usual, so we can get started. And that's all I got. Literally all I got. I haven't slept in days since losing to Peter, so I'm a mess. Today is the day to finally crush me. Shouldn't speak like I'm winning all these games. I've lost plenty of banter blitzes, but let's see if someone's out there and willing to play me. Here we go. Oh, he's not a premium guy, is he? Doesn't say premium there. Sorry, I'm gonna have to abort. First try, next try, Andre Kesselring. I hear that you can see me. Someone says Svidler crushed Jan. Nothing could be further from the truth, but I did lose that game and I'm very upset about it. That was very cruel. But let's focus on the game against Mr. Andre Kesselring, 1954. I'm assuming that's his rating, not his date of birth. He plays a Slav via a slightly tricky move order. I've done all kinds of things here. E3, knight f3, cd5 mainly. And I'll go with e3 here. But the knight on c3, bishop f5 is not that great, because then you take on d5 and go queen b3. He goes e6, and we're gonna get a good old what's called semi-Slav Maran discussion. If he goes knight bd7 here, bishop d3. Have I played Andre Kesselring before? I have a feeling I have. Yeah, I think I have. I think he played well, but misplayed the opening, so I won that one. It looks like he's been studying since. Goes for the Maran mainline here with bishop b7. White has a choice between a3 castles and e4. I think I've played all of these moves. Bishop e7 is also a decent move. a3 is intending to stop b4 and also in some lines go b4 yourself. Not so sure about b4 here, because then he would go a5. So I think I'm going to do something else and go e4, which normally, if black is not ready to answer e4 with b4 or c5, he ends up in a bit of trouble, and that's the scenario we get here. He will probably go knight d5 now, but this structure after knight takes d5 tends to favor white, because it's quite difficult to do something with black. Having said all that, I never know how to proceed here. Bishop f4 is a natural move. Bishop c2 intending queen d3 is a pretty natural plan. What do we do? I'll go bishop c2 just because I might be threatening mate in 1 after queen d3. What's going on in the chat? Change the Twitter? That me? Nah. Money talks, BS walks. I'm not following, guys. He played f5. I like f5. I'm going to take it. And he's going to have a weakness on e6, which he's going to have to look after. How do we exploit that? Knight g5 comes to mind, then queen d7, rook e1, or queen e2. When he's going to have to give me a pawn with knight e4, I'm assuming. Still not the end of the game, because black would have some compensation. Let's say queen d7, queen e2, knight e4, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, queen takes. And I'm better, I'm a pawn up, but it's not that bad for black. He can't speak. He goes rook d8, bishop e3, let's say bishop f6. So far from over, and I'm gonna have to think if I have anything smarter here. Queen d7, I could go queen d3, queen b6, similar story. Could try something like queen d3, h6, knight h7. Not sure that's really leading anywhere. And after queen d3 he also has knight e4. So I'll stick with the original plan of going queen e2 and take on e4, should he go knight e4, and grab a pawn. Oh, now I see what you guys are talking about. It says Lawrence Trent I am. Nah, as you've figured out by my stunningly good looks, this is not Lawrence Trent I am. Let's change that. Ah, that was a Twitter. Sorry. We'll bring him back for some Banter Blitz one day though. As you guys probably know, Lawrence Trent left us to become Fabiano Caruana's manager. And while we're wishing him good luck, we certainly miss him here. And I think he's going to be back to do a Banter Blitz in the near future. But you never know. These managers are busy people. So yeah, the game proceeded as I was expecting. But I've been very slow. Feeling a bit sleepy today. My sleeping schedule is a little messed up, I'm gonna have to confess. I wake up very late, I go to bed very late, and I'm trying to fix it. Like, once you start seeing the sun when you go to bed, something's wrong. I'm not quite there yet, but it's entering that territory. And Andre Kesselring is giving me more pawns. I like pawns, so I'll take them and take it from there. If I counter correctly, I'm now 2 pawns up, which is good. He does have some initiative, which is bad, but you can't have everything. I kind of do want to have everything, though. Still, he doesn't have enough for the 2 pawns. Lao Tse is recommending to make it an Irish coffee. Maybe I should, yeah. Really need to wake up. Like, I watched Pepe Cuenca's Banter Blitz, and he's always so enthusiastic. He's like a Spanish football commentator, yelling and getting excited about the position, while I'm saying, sleepy. Yeah, I'm some pawns up. I'm gonna somehow win. But what am I gonna do? Enthusiasm doesn't come very natural to me. He's gone for a mate in 1 threat, which tends to be a good idea, but I'm very good at parrying mates in 1 as well. Queen takes g2 was the idea, which I did spot. The rook now has to go to slightly awkward square h4 or g6. And I think it's time to start pushing Delroy. That's what Jonathan Rowson called the d-pawn in his book on the Grunfeld, which shows my age. I think it's from the late 90s or something, but it's a book I quite enjoyed back then. Nowadays, of course, I stopped reading books. I watched Chess24 video series, I watched Svidler series on the Grunfeld, but in the old days there was a book I did enjoy. Still not very focused. What did I do? Double rooks? Also, I want to keep an eye on g2 just in case he's dreaming of queen h3 or any unpleasantness. Now I have to hope that he cannot take on d6. Looks like he's going to end up in a nasty pin, but frankly I didn't think it all the way through. Rook d6, I was assuming, my new favorite word. I'm going to do a lot of assuming today, because you know what happens when you assume. So anyway, this was the plan, queen d5, and I was hoping he's having problems now. Rook d8, this is threatening bishop takes h2, which I should not ignore. So let's think for a second. Can I go bishop f4? Bishop c5 check. Yeah, that's enough to convince me not to do so. Let's get the king out of the way. I'm not playing well. I'm really not taking this. I am taking it seriously. I'm just not playing well. Should stop saying that. Still, I am a pawn up, and there is still some issues with the black position. Bishop g5 is probably a threat now. He's going queen c7. Now can I go bishop f4? This was my dream. Looks like I can. And that should ask some pretty unpleasant questions. He can't take because of queen d8. He can't go bishop e7 because of bishop c7. And yeah, I think I conquered the open file. I just watched Job Delimar's lecture on open files. Looks like something stuck. If I get stuff on this d-file and I'm gonna be able to take the bishop, I'll be doing well. I'm not sure that was a takeaway. Should have come away from that show, but it seems to be working. What's going on in the chat? Not much. H6. Let's take it. You're trying to flag me, Andre Kesselring? You know I'm the master flagger, so don't even dream of such things. That's my one true talent, flagging. Nah, I'm not really that fast. I'm just don't have a lot of issues with making random moves when the clock becomes a big factor. A lot of people can't cross that threshold and they still want to make sensible moves even though they don't have time. I've never had that issue. And in this position I'm not going to have to do a lot of magic, pieces a piece. So I'll just pretend to make sensible moves until I did win on time. Teaching you guys some excellent habits as usual. Then again, he is a piece and a pawn down, so don't blame me that this game is no longer so interesting. Now I picked up a queen, that's also good news. And Andre Kesselring resigned. Sleepy start, but my extra 800 rating points did tell. Who do we play next? Ace Tond, I think he's challenged me like 2 days ago. I've seen that challenge for a while, and of course such tenacity has to be rewarded. So let's play him, and let's play the Sicilian. Let's play a goofy move. I normally don't do this. If I play the Sicilian, it's either the Khan or the Taimanov or the Dragon. A6 has one idea, and that idea is precisely that d4 is not the best move. After a6, c3 or c4 are better moves. Here the point is, as far as I know, that now black can go e5, which is normally not a good idea because of knight to b5. But here there's no knight to b5. And after knight b3, I have to admit I'm out of theory. But once again, I'll assume that the idea is bishop b4, get this bishop out, threaten knight takes e4, and get a good position. Not the end of the world, he can play bishop d2 or bishop d3. But this is what black is hoping for when he plays 2a6. It's one of these, don't try this at home, because after a6, c3 or c4 or even knight c3, you haven't accomplished all that much. But it is not as bad as it looks, that's the main charm of it. Do I castle here or do I start with knight c6? Let's go knight c6. Just because that covers the e5 pawn, so now I might be threatening bishop c3 and knight takes e4. Then again he's going to go bishop d3. And none of this matters all that much. d5 looks logical. I'm not sure if I should do it immediately or I should castle first, but I'll do it. Point is, if I castle, he castles, and then I go d5, I was worried to blunder my queen somehow after ed, knight d5, queen d5. Nah, actually, there's no bishop h7s, but I was still worried. Probably no one knows what I'm talking about. But what are you gonna do? David Alvarez is saying, Jan is like, gosh, this game, so easy, so boring. Nah, I just lack this enthusiasm gene, so it's often mistaken for shyness, but it's really not shyness, it is arrogance, so you're right about that. But I'm trying to share the joy of chess with you guys, but my face won't join the team. It's like Donald Trump, I only have one facial expression. Still, castles, what do we do? Probably the sensible move is to take on d2 with rough equality. Well, I don't like this move. I was gonna say I'll gamble with bishop d6, but the bishop is just stupid on d6. And after queen d2, I should not castle, because then my queen would be lost after bishop h7, and I do like my queen, so I can't do that. Not sure I've played this brilliantly, because now after rook d1, once again this castles bishop h7, and I'm in some trouble. What can I do about that? Probably have to go e4, even though I really don't like it. Because the point is, if I go rook d8, let's say he goes queen e3 or queen c3, and my queen doesn't have a good square to retreat to. So I have to go for this, but I'm not a very happy camper here. Keep the queens on the board for a move, but he can't force them off if he wants to with queen to d6. Go c3, which is also sensible. Yeah, I haven't achieved much, but now at least I managed to castle. And the game continues. f4. Est ont is playing well. I like it if people play well. Don't like it one bit. Takes, rook to d8. Looks logical. Queen f2. And yeah. I don't think it's serious, but if anybody's better, it's probably white. Then again. Nah, it can't be that much worse. Queen e1. Don't really want to exchange queens because arguably his king is weaker than mine because he has less pawns protecting it, and also queen b5 is hinting at bishop takes b3. So queen e1 looks like an inaccuracy to me. I think he should have gone to f2 just to cover the b2 pawn and also to be able to go queen to c5 or knight to c5 if needed. He goes knight d4, but looks like est ont is losing the threat a little bit here. cd, because now I can grab some stuff. Bishop a2 or queen b2. I think I'll grab this guy because queen b2 he could go d5, pushing my bishop around, and I don't like that. Chess 24 cup is right here. It's a lefty's cup, as you guys know, so I have to hold it very, very awkwardly to show it to everyone. Queen f2, what do I do? Nah, I'll be boring, as I tend to be, and exchange these bishops. Now that I picked up a pawn, and he has two weaknesses on b2 and d4, I am more or less winning, even though care is still required. Bishop g4. Oh, let's put this queen somewhere else, just to keep an eye on d4. And I'll probably, I don't know, I don't have a plan. Probably I should put my rook on the open file, go rook e8 without blundering f7 and see what happens. Once again, instructive stuff, that's what I do. Bishop f5, he's planning to threaten mate in 1 with queen h4, which tends to be a good idea, but I will parry that. Not sure how yet, probably with h6. You could make a case for g6 as well. It's always very tough. h6 doesn't weaken the dark squares, which g6 does, but g6 cripples the light square bishop, which is also important. While I'm talking about it, I changed my mind and I'm going to go g6, not h6. Now, this is one of the tougher decisions out there many times. If you want to go g6 or h6, which luft to make, it is a pretty tough decision. Generally, don't put your pawns on the same squares as your bishop, but put your pawns on the opposite squares, on the same squares of your opponent's bishop. Sometimes these rules don't go hand in hand. Rook a1, what's going on here? Oh no, I'll threaten checkmate. Queen b2, queen d2. Let's grab a pawn while we're on it. Planning queen takes g2, checkmate. Very deep plan. gf. Looks too dangerous, queen g5 check, and he probably has at least a perpetual, so not gonna do that. And I also could not take on e1 because d8 was hanging, but I did pose this sneaky threat of checkmate, and being the great sportsman I am, I'm not gonna make est ont wait longer in agony to find out if I did spot queen takes g2 mate or not, but I'm gonna execute it immediately without even wasting a second waiting for it. Yeah, sorry, est ont. Don't go d4 against a6. That's the main takeaway from this game, even though you sort of won the opening battle anyway. But I think d4 is supposed to be not the brightest idea there. What else do we play? I think I'll reward people who've waited the longest and click on some challenges on the bottom of my list. Der Foot Markus. It's an odd name. Der Foot Markus from the States. This is the first game he's ever playing on Chess 24. Maybe he's a new premium member. Welcome, Der Foot Markus. I'll crush you. plays the Ruy Lopez, and I will play the Berlin Wall. d3, bishop c5. This is one of the bigger lines at top level these days. c3, castles. A lot of stuff happening here. Castles, d6. You have the knight bd2. This is one of the big theory lines where a6 has been played, bishop b6 has been played, and the fashionable move seems to be knight to e7 introduced by Kramnik. Because if you go a6, white has found some success with taking on c6 and sort of playing that position slowly. Magnus Carlsen even took on c6 deliberately in a very similar position against Vishy Anand in their World Championship match. So a6 is a bit out of fashion. But it has turned out that after knight d2 or rook e1, knight e7, black can sort of allow white to go d4, ed, cd, bishop b6 and get away with that. Not sure if the same holds true after h3, but I would not see why not. Rook e1, and let's put this knight on the square belongs to g6. This is a very typical maneuver, knight e7, knight g6 in these structures. Because the knight on c6 is dumb. It's often dominated by the pawn on c3. While if you reach this setup, normally things aren't too bad. Still, Darefoot Marcus doesn't seem like an 1800 player to me. He's playing very topical line, playing very well so far. So I'm not sure what I signed up for here. That's the problem with unknowns. You never know what you're gonna get. Do I go c6 or not? I think I should. The problem with c6 is it slightly weakens the d6 square if he goes like, let's say, bishop f1, then intending to play knight c4, but still looks fairly logical, or bishop a4. And I guess I'm gonna... Do I have to be so humble? Nah. I wanted to play bishop c7 just to stop knight c4, but then I had second thoughts, and knight c4 is not that much of a threat. Rook e8, keeping an eye on the d4 pawn, and he once again plays a good move, bishop c2. I'm not quite sure what to do here. h6 normally can never be a bad move in these structures, sometimes preparing knight h7, knight g5, and very often also just stopping bishop g5 for the future. Knight f1, once again a good move. This guy's playing well, and as you guys know, I don't like that one bit. What do I do about it? Could take on d4 and go d5, or even go d5 immediately. But I'm not sure how great an idea that is. Knight h7 could be a move, but it looks a little awkward after knight g3. Now I'll try this, not so sure this works at all. Because for starters, white can take a pawn on e4. But I do think that with the position opening up, my pieces gain some squares. I would have the two bishops, that I probably have enough compensation for it. Not sure though if this ed d5 is the way to go here. I'm gonna have to check afterwards. This is actually an educational game for me. Goes knight g3, doesn't go e5. And yeah, no, well, the instinctive reaction would be to take here, just to give him an isolated pawn. I guess to take again. So rule, if your opponent has an isolated pawn, you wanna exchange pieces. However, as with most rules of thumb, there's plenty of exceptions, and try to get some pieces out here. I don't think bishop g6 is that big of a threat, because after fg, my king is still fairly safe, and I would have the two bishops. This bishop has a nice square on d5, or the queen could go to d5 as well. So I'm not all that concerned about that, but I do wonder what to do if he starts with queen to d3, which he doesn't. He does take on g6, fair enough. This can't be bad for me. Bishop e3, what do we put on d5? Queen or bishop? I think queen. Biggest piece to the middle can never be a bad move. That's what I learned in school. and this is the biggest piece, and it's going to the middle. He's going to go knight e5. I'm going to go king h7 and take it from there. Not sure I'm better, but I do like my position here. Queen d3, I have bishop f5, so that's not much of an issue. He could start with g4 to threaten that, but g4 is also a little bit double-edged, weakening his own king. So I'm not sure if Der Foot Marcus is going to pull the trigger on that one. We shall see. Now he goes back to f3. What's that? Is he playing knight g5 check? No, that doesn't work. I'll just continue centralizing. And I'll continue to be happy about my position. Queen a4. Could take a pawn on h3. I think I will. He has knight g5 check. But after hg, gh, it does look like his king suffered more damage in the transformation than my king. Even though my king has to sit behind triple pawns. But since my pieces are so active, knight g5, hg, gh, rook e4. Standing rook h4 does look pretty promising. There we see the beauty of centralization. He doesn't go for that, he goes queen d1, but that looks worse. Oh, hang on, let me calculate. Bishop g4, knight g5, queen g5, bishop g5, bishop d1. Yup. End of calculation. Just to reiterate, knight g5, queen takes, bishop takes d1, and the point is he can't take on d8 because then I would take on e1 with check. Well, if he takes on e8, I take back and I end up a piece up because the bishop on g5 would still be hanging. So Der Foot Marcus is in trouble, real big trouble. Pawn down with a bad position. It's not a good start. He goes a3. I'll go here just to rule out any knight g5 ideas in the future. Now threatening rook f8. Or, yeah, let's go rook f8. And he resigns. Yeah, not too late actually, because I do threaten rook takes f3 followed by bishop takes, which is pretty lethal. I'm going to have to interrupt the program for about 1 minute 22 seconds. That's the time it tends to take me to go to the bathroom and come back. Should have done that before the show. I think I actually did. I've just had a lot of coffee. I'll be back in a second. See you then. Welcome back everybody to the exciting Banter Blitz session we're playing today. I didn't stop the time, but I think it was around 1 minute 20. I've done this before. Let's find a new opponent. I'm gonna keep sticking to my system of today rewarding the guys who challenged first. Normally I wanna mix it up a bit so that everyone gets a chance. But let's keep going from the bottom of the list today. I might change it up a little later if I feel like it, or if I feel I must play someone very high rated so I can get crushed at the end of the session and feel bad about myself for the rest of the day. But for now we're playing against T. Budiman, my first game against T. Budiman. His real name is The Budiman from Indonesia. And this is sort of a Catalan. I've just been studying it a lot from the black side. If you were to go d5 here after d4, that position for my video series, video repertoire against 1 d4, I believe black is alright in the Catalan. That's a tricky opening. He chooses to go for some sort of hedgehog setup, which is very possible. He should go b6. Probably rather sooner than later, which is now, because if he doesn't go b6, I'll go d4, and after knight takes, it's no longer gonna be possible to get him b6 so easily here after d4. It's still possible, but normally in a hedgehog you don't want your knight on c6, you want it on d7. That's why I think he should have started with b6. He goes a6 here, and this is tempting me to cross the demarcation line or to go bishop f4. I think I'll go here. If they offer you so much free space, there's not much to do about it. Yeah, I'm not sure what black should do. I think this is already trouble after ED-CD. The knight doesn't have a good square. If the knight has to retreat, that's kind of sad. It can't go to b4 because I would just kick it with a3 and it's really running out of squares. Knight d4, knight takes d4. I was gonna say, it might be the best chance, but it does look to me like it's a clean extra pawn. So don't go knight c6 so early, T. Budiman, and if you do, then take on d4. In that position you can't allow d5 because it's unpleasant. Queen d6, I'll bring the bishop out with tempo. I'm assuming he's gonna go queen c5 or queen b4. It's like the 4th time I've said assuming today. I should ban one word for every show, which I'm not allowed to say, and if I do say it, there should be some punishment involved. I think we're gonna make it assume for today. This is the last time I was allowed to say the word. If you hear me say it again, not quite sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm sure my dear colleagues will think of some nice punishment. The problem is now it's in my head and I can't really think of any other word, so I'll probably just shut up for the rest of the show. The position in the meantime is tremendously favorable. Pawn up with a good position. That is the sort of situations that you want out of the opening but don't get so often. T. Budiman is retreating his queen. I'll try to put my finger on the weakness on b6. He can sort of go knight d7, and I haven't accomplished all that much in my little queenside venture, but I'm better, which is all I need. What's the chat discussion? I don't know. Play bishop d7, knight b6, rook b8. There's still nothing immediate. I just have a nice position, nice grip on the position. I could have taken on d7. I do like bishops, but there's no harm in going bishop d4, trying to strengthen my position further by going e4, rook e1. There's bishop b5, but that bishop is not going to stay there for long. And T. Budiman is struggling here. It's time to go knight d7, which he does, trying to get rid of that knight on b6. Problem is when it rains it pours, and now if he takes on b6, as bishop takes b6, queen d7, rook c7, which looks to be winning, so I don't really have any good advice. He goes knight c5, which is a good try, because after b4 there's knight b3. I'll go queen e3, now planning to follow with b4. The black position is as unpleasant as ever. You should probably go bishop b5, get this bishop out. While there is a chance to do so with tempo, I'll go rook fd1 and stay in control. Tibuliman retreats voluntarily. I'll go here, just hoping he takes on b6, because then after bishop takes, the queen would be trapped on d8, and I would enjoy that sight tremendously. Of course, it's not going to happen, but you gotta have dreams. f6, yeah. What can I say? The black position is just very cramped, and I don't have a lot of good advice. I'll continue taking space. f4 to stop knight e5, now b4 to stop knight c5 is next on the agenda, and it's gonna be very hard to make a move. Or so I hope. And Tibuliman resigned. Yeah, this was not a pleasant position. There's just nothing he can move, pretty much. So I do understand the decision. Thanks for the game. And yeah, as I mentioned, don't go knight c6 and then do take on d4 as long as there's a chance. After d5, this was already trouble. Mr. Man of Light. Who's Man of Light? Is that Superman? Or the Flash? Is that any superhero-related name? No, I don't think it's Superman. I don't think it's the Flash, but I will Google that question. Man of Light. No, it doesn't look like a superhero. Man of Light, it's Mauricio Panisei, famous healer. I don't know, but Man of Light doesn't seem to be here, so we're gonna have to find someone else. Sorry, Man of Light. And Lao Tse is next on this list from Netherlands. He's been active in the chat, right? I think I was talking to Lao Tse earlier. But he might not be there either. We'll wait a bit. Talking of superheroes, do you guys see Ant-Man? Is it any good? I somehow can't build up the strength to go to the movies and watch Ant-Man. I have a feeling I'm gonna be disappointed. There's nothing else running that does really tempt me, so I'll probably do it. I do want to see that Amy Winehouse documentary, but it's not featured in many cinemas here. And Lao Tse is there, so we'll abruptly change topics and play the Scandinavian in opening. I don't recommend, because you get your queen out early, and that's not a good thing to do. Still, some strong players have played it. This queen d6 line, especially Tivyakov comes to mind. Even Kramnik has used it in Blitz. I'm by no means a specialist here, but I did notice it didn't seem to be as bad as it looks, so it might be a line that is playable as a surprise weapon. I'll go g6 here. Other moves have certainly been played. a6, c6, maybe even bishop g4 immediately. This plan sort of appeals to me the most. g6, bishop g7. I think I've seen Kramnik play something like that in his Blitz games. Problem White has is that his knight on c3 is not very well placed in these positions. So common idea is actually to go knight b5 followed by c4, sometimes even knight b5 followed by knight a3 and knight to c4. He goes a3, which is a very sensible move as well. I'll tempt him a bit with knight to c6, pretending that I want to put some pressure on the d4 pawn. After bishop e3, I was intending to go rook d8, but now I'm a little concerned about knight b5, queen d7, knight e5. Yeah, I think I should be concerned about that, so I'll lose a tempo, go a6 to take that out. So far, Lao Tse is playing very well, while my lack of familiarity with the opening I chose is showing. Rook d1. Yeah, I don't like my position too much. Bishop f4 is in the air. Note to self, don't play the Scandinavian without having a clue. It's not my style. Queen c1. Do you have any active plan? Not sure. I'll attack stuff. That's how deep my thoughts are. I'll go knight b4, planning to, well, take on c2, or if that doesn't work out, to put a knight on d5, either the b knight or the f knight, and take it from there. Still don't like my position, but queen c1 was a bit of a slow move. I thought bishop f4 or bishop h6 immediately looked more natural. Now he goes bishop f4. I'll go here and see what happens. It's a bit tricky to defend the c2 pawn. Knight e1 is a move you don't really want to play. Bishop d3 is a move you don't want to play. The question is if you have to defend it at all. Maybe he can just go a3, and then if knight takes c2, bishop d3. Does that work? I'm not sure. Bishop d3. It looks like I have knight takes d4 there, but that could become quite sharp. a3, knight c2, bishop d3, knight d4, rook d4, bishop e3. I'm losing an exchange, even though I do get 2 pawns for it. So should that happen, I'll think about it some more. But he goes knight to e1 instead. Now rook takes d4, there's bishop e3, but then I have rook d1. There's also bishop takes c7, when I also have rook d1. So I don't see any particular reasons against it. Of course, he can go rook d4, queen d4, and now bishop c7, but that loses precious time, and with his pieces slightly inactive at this particular point, I have a feeling I should have something here. I'm not sure if this is best. Rook c8 first. Yeah, maybe just rook c8. Now I've managed to activate my army, and I quite like my chances. Bishop f4, I want to go here. Still keeping an eye on the c2 pawn. Bishop h6. But now I can grab stuff, and if I can grab stuff, I become a lot stronger. There's not really any compensation for this pawn. My king is quite safe, even after these bishops are exchanged. a2 is weak, c2 is weak, so this is pretty much a winning position. As I said, grabbing stuff is one of my fortes. That was ridiculous. I could just take on e2, covering e7, but instincts. I got so scared. So I did take a move later, which of course doesn't really spoil it. And yeah, this position is just winning. Queen, piece and pawn up tends to do the job. That wasn't funny. And I'm sort of screwing around a little bit here. Shouldn't have allowed any hopes with queen e7. But of course the situation is still under control because I have a lot more material, which tends to help. Yeah, grabbing stuff I am very good at. Lautze resigned. Some uneasy moments for me there in the opening. Did not like my opening choice all that much, and I probably won't repeat it. Next game against Solaum. How do you pronounce that? Solaum from Sweden. I don't know. I'll go d4. So one knight f3 has become my instinct default move, but traditionally I am a d4 player. Tournament games I alternate between d4, knight f3, and c4, but c4 a little less often. He goes for the King's Indian, which, yeah, we know I do have a love-hate relationship with it. But I'll be brave in this game and enter the main line, see what happens. Before this bayonet attack played by Kramnik and many others, that always attracted me a little bit. To a5, white has 2 moves, bishop a3 and b takes a. I'll go bishop a3, which is the main line. B takes a is also not stupid, very playable. But let's see what he has in store here. Takes. Can't remember, what did Robin recommend in his series? He wanted some goofy line with rook e8, which is quite clever. Rook e8, bishop f8, tending to go c5. Not sure if it was here after b6. My memory is not the best. In general, yeah, white wants to go a4, a5, and down the line c5 as well. Yeah, he does go rook e8. Is this the position where you do this? The point is, I don't think this is the position where they do it. I think it's after b6, a4, because after rook e8, can't I go c5? Not sure if I'm mixing something up, but I believe that normally if you want to play as rook e8 idea, you play b6, and then after a4 you go rook e8, so you can meet c5, a5 with c5. While now if white gets in c5, I think rook e8 is rendered a little pointless. I could be wrong about that, I'm gonna have to look it up, or if any of you guys is a King's Indian theory specialist, let me know. But I do feel optimistic that this development of events favored me. Goes knight h5. There's two typical reactions to this. One is g3. The other is rook e1, knight f4, bishop f1. I'll keep it simple, go g3. Goes b6, fair enough. Where do we want that bishop? If it goes to b4, then c5 might annoy me a little bit. So I'll go this way. Also, this is a 3-minute game against a strong opponent, so probably I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit at some point. Bishop a6. You can do that. As a rule, this exchange is nothing white minds all that much in the King's Indian, because the black light square bishop is stronger than the white light square bishop. And this position does look quite nice for me, actually. Still, I have to speed up a little bit, only 1 minute 30 left on each side. So I will hurry up a bit, make some moves a bit more quickly. He goes f5, which I think is a mistake. Because after ef, he can't go gf and queen f5. There should be something. Knight takes c7. Of course, I missed queen takes d5, but is that any good? Should have thought about it, at least. Yeah, it's time to speed up a little bit. I think my position is quite good, if not winning. But the time is very low. But yeah, now the position is winning. He can't even recapture on f5 because h5 is dropping. And I have queen against the rook, which is pretty seizable material advantage. So I'll quietly finish the job. And yeah. This is the end. I won a game against the King's Indian, yay me. I believe my opponent mixed up the lines in the opening. Shouldn't go rook e8 in that position, allowing c5, but you should start with... Where was it? Here. You should start with b6, and if I'm not mistaken, here after a4, there's a theoretical line, now rook e8, and the point is after a5, black can go c5, dc, knight c6, and bishop takes d6, no longer attacks the rook on f8 because it moved to e8. So this is a theoretical main line and very interesting. But the immediate rook e8, there's c5, and I think white is just better there. So, next game, who we got? Yeah, I do like Kramnik. I saw the name Kramnik in the chat. I did study his work, and I think he's made a tremendous contribution to, well, chess and opening theory. So many things, this bayonet attack, the Berlin, the Petrov, all these openings that are terrorizing us, the Catalan with white. Yeah, I'm a Kramnik fan. And let's see what Ruben Mantel from Germany is up to. He goes 1e4. I'll go for the good old Sicilian. Knight c3. Knight c3, you always have to adjust your line depending what your main repertoire is. If you play the can, or the time on of, you can go knight c6. While if you're a knight off player, it's a bit more tricky, because then you probably have to go d6. If you go knight c6, white goes knight f3, then you can get move ordered out of your stuff. This line, yeah, the close Sicilian it's very playable, and you see it as a surprise weapon. Once in a while, Magnus Carlsen used it to defeat Radek Wojtaszek, for example. And yeah, this is stuff from my childhood here. Yeah, bishop g7 is important. If he goes h5, immediately you take on h6, and then you go g5, trapping the queen on h6. But Ruben Mantel didn't fall for that. This position, I think, is sort of unclear. h6 is correct, stopping me from going h6 myself. But when I was checking it, which is, yeah, really, at some point in the 90s, I did conclude that black was okay here. Let's see where he wants to put his king. It's probably too early for f4 after gf and rook g8. I would take over the initiative there. Knight d5 is a very sensible move. Sort of hoping he wouldn't do that between you and me. What can I do? Bishop d5, ed knight d4. I'm not that sure. I'm comfortable with that. Ed knight b4. Nah, also don't like it. Could ignore the knight. Go knight g6, but it also looks a little clumsy. I probably shouldn't have allowed this. Knight d5, I should have gone knight d4 instead of bishop e6. Anyway, now that we're here, let's take it, see what happens. But I don't like it. I think I misplayed this, because now the bishop gets a square on e4 in the future. Still has this thumb on the flesh, thorn on the flesh. Thumb on the flesh sounds unpleasant too. On h6. So I'm not too thrilled about my position. But what are you gonna do? Put this rook on e8. Then see what happens. At some point I should probably start thinking about organizing some counterplay here, and c4 seems to help me with that task. You shouldn't have gone c4. You should have waited for me to go b5, b4, and then go c4, try to keep the position closed, because now I sort of got a head start to organize a bit of counterplay on the queen side. Still have to take care of the king side, and queen h5 is it's a bit of a nuisance here. Yeah. I'm not dying to play g4, but I don't see anything better. I could go rook g8, but that also leaves the what's called the f7 square vulnerable. So I think I should play this g4 move. You might be thinking about queen g5 now, hoping for rook g8, queen f6, but I do have queen g5, knight g6 covering against all immediate evil. But yeah, it was a fair enough try. Now the bishop has to move, and I have to make up my mind what I want to do after bishop g2. I think I want to start by taking here. And now I'm a bit tempted to go e4, just because it looks like it shuts out this bishop on g2 out of the game quite permanently. It doesn't have anywhere good to go. Like it's a long way away from a4, and else the bishop doesn't have a lot of squares. So I do like my position now. My knight got a nice square here. He probably wants to put his queen on c3, which is fair. I think I'll react by putting my queen on f6 just to neutralize things on this long diagonal. And I'm quite optimistic about the future. Threatening knight d3 check now. He might be thinking, well, bishop takes e4, but it does look like desperation. And after king b1, I believe I should go for this endgame, which looks very, very promising, because the bishop on g2 is shut out, as mentioned. Now what I have to do is open the queen side up somehow. Yeah, rook d1 allows me to do that. I guess he wants to take on d3, but here I would be able to pick up the pawn on b3 as well. Still not sure I should have allowed this rook takes d3 though, but yeah, it's fine. ba doesn't work because of rook b2. So the white position is difficult now, once again, because I managed to incarcerate his bishop. This is pretty tough to deal with. Rook b7 was a bit careless. I should have taken on b3 once first, I guess. But it's still a very good position. After ba, I can just go knight to e5 back. Yeah, he goes rook d3 now. But my rooks are covering the entry points, so there's still not too much to be concerned about. No, it's just winning actually. King d3, ab. And after AB, I can exchange a pair of rooks when he's left with his pretty miserable bishop. And an exchange down. So things turned out badly for Andrzej Mantel. I think, greedy as I am, I'll try to pick up. Oh no, I won't be able to pick up the bishop. That was asking too much from my position. I thought I could go rook g1, but he has bishop f1. So it doesn't help much, but I don't particularly need it either to win the game. Bring the king. Now rook g1 would have won the bishop, so that might have been a wiser choice than bring the king even. But I do get a second chance. Bishop e4. Let's give a check. It's almost stalemate after king f5, rook c4, but only almost, because the f-pawn can still move. And Rube Mantel resigns. Good game. Rube Mantel was a bit worried there, out of the opening. But in the end, yeah, when I managed to shut in this bishop. Let's have a brief look. Yeah, I think the problem started with white going c4, and after I achieved this, I was quite optimistic. Let's see if we have more challengers. Here we go, playing against Daniel Kojokaru 70 from Romania, if I read that flag correctly, yeah. Let's see if Daniel Kojokaru is there. He goes e4. What do I do? I've played all kinds of things today already. I've played two Sicilians. I've played e4, e5. So now is the time to go back to my old favorites. This funky little line with e4, g6. And yeah, he's not tempted to go knight c3 and f4, which is what this d6 move order is for. Instead we get a mainline Pirt's position. White is a wide choice here. Bishop e2, bishop e3, h3. That's about it. Bishop d3 is a little less typical. Normally you want to put this bishop on e2, and I'm assuming the reason is that else this could be a good idea for black. Not a big deal, of course. White is perfectly fine. But it's an extra option granted by putting the bishop on d3. Now white has to think what to do about the d4 pawn. If it goes d5, I'm not quite sure I want to go knight e5 or knight to d4. He goes bishop e3, and I'll once again ask this question. Knight to d7. And yeah, I guess knight e2 is best now, which he does. I'll play e5. Probably d5 is a critical move, when I will just play knight e7 and intend to go f5. Here I was wondering, after c3, if I go ed, cd, does this knight e5 trick work here, or does it not? Let's find out. This is a typical trick. If he goes cd4 to go knight e5, I wasn't sure it worked because of de, knight e5, queen g3, knight takes d3, bishop g5, but then I have f6, so I think it worked. So he takes with a knight, which is probably correct. Now what do I do? Bunch of decent looking options. Knight e5, take here, and rook e8, for example. But nothing too exciting. I don't see anything better than that. So let's go there. Okay, one, I was hoping I was threatening to win a pawn. Not sure I am, but I guess so. Queen b5. Let's chase this queen away. Not that it's doing much, but it does look a little scary on b5. So why tolerate it there? Goes to a3, but on a3 it does look a lot less scary than on b5. So now I am a healthy pawn up, which is good. I like pawns. Plan is, I'm not sure, I was going to say queen d7 and rook a8. I have to take a little bit of care that after queen d7, b4 does not pose problems. Knight b3 looks like it's losing the queen, and I like queens even more than pawns. Queen on the rim is dim, as they say in the books. He does make the best of it and gets rook and a bishop, rook and a knight. But the white pieces are not placed very harmoniously, so this should be reasonably easy winning position. Parry the threat of bishop takes c5, and now I want to go b5, b4. And there's not all that much you can do about it. Or is there? No, I think it's pretty bad. He has to go b3 to save the bishop, when I will probably just take on c3. Then if knight e4, bishop d4 or bishop e5. Let's go here. And yeah, it's not a very nice position. Queen is a queen. It's a very powerful piece. Not sure where it went wrong for Daniel. Bishop d3 in the opening, yes, not normal, but it can't be too bad. But then, yeah, mainly allowing knight c5 and letting me get that pawn leads to problems. Trying to open the A file for my rook so that all my forces are operational. But I just have too much material. I have queen and 2 pawns against, what is it, rook and knight. That's not a fair balance. Wondering if I can go c4, rook d5, cb, rook d6, but then queen c2. Yeah, I think I can do that. Knight e5, fair enough. I have to take a little bit of care so that I don't get mated. Let's start with this. Oof, that wasn't the right start. Bishop b2 or bishop g5, yeah, that was careless. So Immediately, I am getting scared, and when I get scared, my first instinct is to exchange material. My second instinct is to queen my pawn, so I will act on the second instinct, not the first. Unfortunately for white, it's not quite mate. I can go to h6 or to g8. Doesn't really matter. I'll go here, and the point is after rook d1, I go rook a1, rook d8 is not legal, and after everything else, I'll queen my pawn. So this is the end. Thanks for the game, Daniel Kojo Karu. And believe it or not, I'm gonna have to go for another break. I'm not quite sure what's happening with my bladder today, and I am sure you guys don't want to know. I'll be back in 1 minute. Should probably stop drinking coffee non-stop. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. Only the second interruption within the last half hour. Let's keep the ball rolling, accept the next challenge by Mr. Passion. What is this? He's an international master, but his rating here is 1927. That's quite low for an international master, so I'm gonna assume he hasn't played much yet on this side, and I'll be extra focused. Maybe he's not there. Passion, are you there? 1:35 was my bathroom time this time. Yeah, that sounds about right. And Passion is here, international master from Australia, 1927. I'm guessing he just started playing on this side, so he's probably much stronger. I'm gonna go for the Vienna, which I've been looking at while working on my d4 series, and he goes straight down the main line. Bishop g5, c5, bishop c4 takes, knight takes. All of this is theory. Queen a5. Let's see what he's up to. Yeah, bishop b5 check. Once again, the critical move. Black has a choice between knight bd7 and bishop d7. Frankly, I haven't arrived at the chapter on knight bd7 yet, so I'm gonna have to be very careful here. The point is after knight bd7, black wants to be greedy and grab this pawn. King of 1, gf6, and then after h4, all the theoretical discussions start. Passion booked up, bangs out all the moves. Rook h3, queen b4, all of this is theory. Rook b1 is not the main move in this position. Maybe we found a chink in Passion's knowledge. He is supposed to go bishop e2 in that position. Still, good that he played something else, gives me something else to look at for my video series. Rook b1, I'm not familiar with. Black plan tends to be put the queen on d6, the knight on e5, shot castle kingside, hope nothing too bad happens, and enjoy your extra pawn. Not always in that order, but that's more or less the rough plan. Problem is, I think all these lines are good. The problem is they're not easy to play, and you have to know a lot of stuff with black. So I'm not sure how wholeheartedly I can and will recommend them in my repertoire series. But to me it looks like the Vienna is a decent opening, which will make a comeback at top level as well. The white doesn't have anything too spectacular against it. So let's see how it goes. Not sure what Passion is thinking about. Bishop d7 should be bad here. Then bishop takes d7. And even though he can win his pawn back, this knight would be pinned. And after, let's say, rook d8, I believe white would be in trouble. So that doesn't look like a good idea. Bishop a4 he could do, but then I guess I'll go b5, bishop b7. So I'm still expecting bishop e2. And yeah, as usual, people are complaining. Modern chess, unfortunately, a lot of opening theory. These unfair grandmasters, they spend their time studying lines. Can't we all play natural chess and win according to our talent? I don't know. I've always enjoyed studying opening theory. And it is part of the game, so I don't have a problem with it. I also think that studying opening theory, you learn a lot about chess in general. But of course, no one's forced to do it. Everyone can look at and play whatever they like. Passion went rook d3, which I'm not sure works. Still have to think about it. A, B, knight b5, queen h2, knight d6 check. Let's see, king. Oof, it's making me calculate. Anyway, let's not calculate, let's grab material. That's my more natural MO. Calculate afterwards. Yeah, so far I'd seen I have queen h1 check, king e2, rook a2. I thought at least it can't be bad for me. I'm not sure how good for me it is though. I also have some other options here, queen d1 and knight e5, which also looks good actually. Choices, but I'll take the pawn with check. That does look more natural. See what he does soon. Oh, my assumption is he's gonna go to e3. When I will probably trade queens, queen d1 and knight to e5. Not sure if I have anything better after king e3, queen h4. Does it work? Maybe works. Rook d7, queen f2, king d3. I don't see a mate. Feels like there should be a mate. Must be a mate. King d3, rook a3, b3. No, I don't see it. Here he goes. The safe way is to just take on d1 and go knight e5 with a good, probably winning endgame. I've been calculating queen h4, rook d7, and queen takes f2, king to d3. But I haven't found a finishing move there. Let's go over it again though. It looks so tempting. King d3, queen g3 check, king c4. No, I don't see it. I'm gonna have to be practical. Take and go knight e5, but I'm not in love with that decision. Nah, that wasn't the way to go. I should have gone queen h4, I think. Still, that's the position we got. What can I do about it? Knight g4 check, king f4, knight f2. That looks risky. Maybe I've bungled it. Maybe I'm not. Should be better, but I thought I was close to winning here. Maybe I'm just not. There goes knight d6. Yeah, this hasn't gone according to plan. I'll go for cheapos, threaten rook d6 and knight c4 check. I have a feeling he's gonna spot that. Could even think about knight takes f7, but then I think... Oh, and I blundered knight f5. That's brilliant. That is actually quite pathetic. Fortunately, I can grab some pawns, so I'm not sure how lost I am here. But to blunder that is quite sad. Hang on, king f3, rook a3 check, any good? Nah. What have I done to my poor position? Now I'm stuck trying to survive this. Probably is lost, actually, objectively. And yeah, I'm not happy. Am I getting checkmated too? To add to my worries? Close. Aye. Yeah, to blunder knight f5 check is a... I'm not sure if it's a new personal low. I've blundered more things, and I think I blundered the same tactic more or less in an earlier Banter Blitz, so maybe I have a blind spot for the knight going back with check, and it's something I should worry about. Still, positionally, the conversion is not so easy here. My pieces are reasonably active, and the knight does quite well in close range combat, let's call it, where play is only on one side. So I'm not sure if I'm lost here and how lost, and I'm still looking for tricks to win the game. But of course, I should never have blundered that exchange. I had a good position, which I then bungled, and I'm relegated to sort of trying to hold this one now, which was really not the plan. I think now the position should be a draw, but I don't have enough firepower to win it, I'm afraid. It's tempting me a little bit. Let's give some checks. Obviously not planning to repeat moves, but I still don't think this can be won. Oops, no, let's not blunder the rook as well. Now, yeah, giving up the... playing badly. Giving up the h5 pawn also was not part of the plan at all. I did win on time, but yeah, I'm disgusted with myself. Really, allowing this knight f5, that shouldn't happen. We have this position after knight d6, where only black can be better. I have to calculate knight g4 check. And yeah, maybe move like rook a8, planning rook a3 was also strong. But to go rook d8, knight f5 is just ridiculous. So yeah, sorry Passion, good game. The line is interesting, I still like the Vienna, but to blunder that just shouldn't happen. What are you gonna do? What time is it? Let's play 2 more games and then call it a day for today. As I said, I haven't slept in weeks, so there's excuses for everything. Who do I play? I'll play John Eisenberg. Can't recall having played John Eisenberg. I'm more or less going through my list from the earliest challenges today. There's no perfect system. I play strong players. People complain, why doesn't everybody get a chance? I play according to the list. People complain I duck the strong opponents. We're just trying to do as many as we can of those so everybody gets a chance to play. And I don't think I've ever played against Mr. John Eisenberg. I will pin his knight, play the Nimzo Indian for that one. And people are asking if I need a break. No, I'm good, but let me have another sip of coffee and we might get another break in. Anyway, theory discussion here against Mr. Eisenberg. Not anymore. B takes C is not common here. They tend to go queen takes C3, which is the idea of queen C2, so you can recapture with the queen here. Not familiar with this move. What do I do? Greedy me wants to go DC4. Yeah, greedy me tends to convince development me quite smoothly. Not sure this is a good move, because after let's say e3 or e4. My idea was to go b5, but then he has a4, c6, bishop a3, stopping me from castling, which, yeah, is probably not something I want. So if he goes e4, I think I should go c5 instead, trying to create some counterplay quickly. Well, if he goes, yeah, e3, then, okay, different story. Queen a4 check is possible. Now what I wanted to do, does this make sense? I wanted to do this. I'm not so sure how brilliant this is. My point was after queen takes c4, I want to go b6 and bishop a6 and develop very quickly. But there's also knight f3 and knight e5 coming very quickly, hitting my queen. So I'm not sure how much I've accomplished in this transaction. We'll find out though. Bishop f4. Could probably go bishop a6 anyway. It's quite common to give this pawn, but I don't really see a reason to do it. I can just go knight d5, cover it, and then go bishop a6 next move. I don't like bishop f4. I think he should have gone knight f3, intending to go knight e5. What's going on in the chat? Schachmonster was telling me to flag him. I never need flagging advice, but yeah, I was still upset about the last game because missing knight f5 check is, yeah, it's just pathetic. And I think, yeah, I've missed the same tactic in an earlier Banter Blitz game, so I really must have a blind spot for knight d6 back to f5, followed by rook takes d8. And I should fix that. It could cost me a lot of material down the stretch. Here I think I have a good position. I will continue developing my queen side. Now I want to go knight a5 with tempo. If he goes e4, I can either go knight f5 immediately or go bishop f1, e takes d, and then knight a5. This Zwischenzug should help me. Positionally, knight a5 is very desirable because I'm getting a hold of all these weakened squares on the queen side, it's called. So yeah, let's see what John Eisenberg does, but I think the opening has not gone well for him. B takes c3 is a bit questionable there, and then bishop f4, bishop g3 I also didn't like. What do I do after knight f3? Just castle, I guess. Not sure if knight e5 was a threat. I could have gone knight a5 first, or on a crazy day I could even go f6 to stop knight e5. But it doesn't seem worth it to go to such extents to stop it. Now let's see what he does. I think he should go knight e5 actually, but then I will take, and after bishop takes, he's lost a lot of time with development, which hopefully I can somehow use. I'm not sure if c5 probably. Trying to open the position before he catches up. What's up, John Eisenberg? He's taking his time, and yeah, white position might look nice, but it's really not. I did go king takes f1. I was expecting e takes d5 when I have this Zwischenzug knight a5. I think I'll still get it in here. Just pronouncing the weaknesses of these light squares. Thing is, even if you don't have double pawns there, the squares do stay weak if they can't be covered by pawns anymore. Here the b2 pawn is no longer there, so c4 is sort of a permanent weak square. And the pawn on c3 could also be a liability. So yeah, this is an Nimzonian gone wrong for John Eisenberg. Not sure where he should put his queen. If he goes to a2 or c2, I do want to throw in a little intermediate check with queen b5. After king g1, then I'll go knight f6. Not sure that was necessary, but I wanted to stop him from going c4. Queen e2, king e1, that's surprising. I think the king should have gone to g1, where it's safer than in the middle of the road. Let's see how this goes, though. b1, fair enough. Let's attack the pawn once again. Knight e5, and as we all know, I never shy away from taking pawns. Yeah, this is This is lost pretty much. Pawn down, king in the center, still a weakness on c3. Sorry, John Eisenberg. So how do we do this? Shall we just take... Yeah, once again, I'm not sure I've played this perfectly, but the position, I think, does remain winning. d4 is under attack. If he has to go passive with rook d1, I'll just go rook d5 and rook d8. And if he goes active with rook c7, which he does, I was hoping that I could develop an initiative quickly here with rook d4 and then rook to d8. Rook h4. No, I think he should have taken on a7. Rook h4 looks too slow. Oh yeah, John Eisenberg is also low on time, so he's rightly speeding up, but the position is now beyond repair, and this knight doesn't have a way out. He resigns. Good game. Yeah, this, I think in the opening, b takes c is asking for a lot. After you play queen c2, the idea is after bishop takes c3 to recapture with the queen, also defending this pawn and not getting stuck with these pawn weaknesses. So b takes c, I would not advise repeating. Last game for today. Let's play against Peter Lafleur, international master. I'm sure I've complimented him on the name before. One of my favorite movies, Dodgeball. Peter Lafleur is the good guy, even though I was always on Team Globo Jim. I like Ben Stiller and Michelle in that movie, but still excellent username, Peter Lafleur. Let's see what he's up to. He's going for the Catalan. That's the opening. I've just been studying, and dull as I am, I've decided to go for the main line with bishop e7, but I honestly do believe that this is the best line. D takes c. I've mainly been studying knight e5 so far. I've just made some videos about that. Queen c2, of course, is the, well, the main line, or the old main line. And this, yeah, is very much the topical line, a6, a4. After queen takes c4, b5, black has been doing well. But a4 is asking some questions. Bishop d7, queen c4, bishop c6. This is the trendy stuff. Bishop f4, and this move is all the rage, bishop d6. When it looked to me like white is more or less stuck here. Avro recommends queen c1 here in his book. In practice, most of the time they've gone... what have they gone? Bishop to g5. He goes knight c3. Why don't I know more about knight c3? I'm assuming the black idea must be to take on f4 and exploit this structure, but here I'm confused. I'm sure I've looked at this, but I can't remember it. So, as usual, note to self, check this some more. a5, knight, a6 is one typical plan here, but I'm not quite sure if there was some concrete direct reaction to knight c3. Maybe some b5, but no, it doesn't seem to work. So now, I'll make some useful moves and then start thinking. Now the big question here is always, do we want to leave black with a knight, white with a knight on e5, or with a bishop? And I believe, I could be wrong about this, I still haven't looked at it in enough detail, that it's correct here to exchange this guy and leave white with a bishop, which I think has less active perspectives than a knight on e5, even though we all know I love bishops. But here this strikes me as a correct idea. Yeah, Peter Lafleur playing very naturally. Let's bother him a bit by attacking the b2 pawn. He wants to go rook g1 and then put some pressure on the g file, but there is nothing all that scary happening yet. Knight e4 I'm not sure about. Not sure he should really exchange his last knight. But we'll see. G6, of course, a little double edge, weakens my king a little bit in all these rook G1 stories. But I'm somehow not that scared. Maybe I should be. Queen D3. Okay. I'm wondering if it's... does he threaten bishop G6 with a draw? I don't want to draw. Let's get the king out of the way, just in case. Still don't think... But I could be wrong. I could be terribly over-optimistic about this position. I still like my position somehow. I have to take some care that I'm not getting mated after some sacrifices on G6, but it looks like I'm not. Bishop G6, Fg, Rook G6, Hg, Queen G6, Queen C7. And there doesn't seem to be any further progress to be made, and now it's time to start creating some counterplay. I've been slow, so I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit. C5, obvious idea, Rook C5, Queen C5. Can't do that, so let's see what Peter does. Well, I hear some dry cleaning outside. Here I wanted to take and go. Take here. I'm not sure how smart of an idea this whole transformation was, frankly. Probably not that smart. Yeah, I missed Rook B5. And not too thrilled about this, because now he gets a passed B-pawn. Still, always look on the bright side of life. I have a passed A-pawn. So it's not all bad, but I'm going to have to speed up a little. That's me speeding up. I'm not sure I've done my position any favors, because now the B-pawn really is far advanced and hard to stop. Yeah, this has not gone perfectly. Not quite sure why he refused to queen there. Probably that's why I missed that. Yeah, this position should be lost, especially in a time scramble. It's very hard to anticipate the checks. That's a lucky check, but yeah, all of this, of course, doesn't have much to do with chess. So what can I tell you? I think a draw is a fair result for this game. But yeah, in true Flaggers fashion, I ended up with 0-1 seconds against 0. That was the last game. Sorry, Peter Lafleur. Interesting game. I liked my play until, yeah, the C5, D5. I think I sort of misevaluated. And it's a very interesting structure out of the opening. As I said, I've been working on this quite seriously for my Black Repertoire series. And I'm not sure about the structure. I'm not sure which pieces to keep and which to exchange. I had a good feeling here, but Black does have to create some counterplay, else H4, H5 will come one day. So interesting game. I'm gonna look at it a little more later. And yeah, thank you guys for watching the show. That's it for today. Sorry for the multiple breaks, the multiple flagging after horrible play, but you're familiar with my style by now. It is Blitz. I've had a good time, and I will see you for the next one. Tomorrow, I believe I do a show in German. We call this Geschwätz Blitz. It's pretty much the same format, just me speaking a different language. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a good, whatever time it is, good night probably. Bye-bye. Become a premium member. You really should. You can play me.